Chapter 3070. That person must die. Lu Ming said coldly as a cold light flashed in his eyes. This person was vicious and almost killed Chiu Moon. In Lu Ming's heart, he had already sentenced this person to death. If there was a chance, he must kill this person. Then, Lu Ming looked around. Unfortunately, he did not see the whereabouts of the Winged Man clan near the Myriad Moon Lake. It seemed that he had left long ago. Chiu Moon, 10 years is almost up. Let's go out, Lu Ming said. Chiu Moon nodded obediently. Immediately, the two of them chose a direction and turned into two rays of light, quickly leaving. There was a special passage to leave Star Crescent Ancient City. The passage on the side of 9 Extinction Heavenly King Mansion was in a huge valley east of Star Crescent Ancient City. The people from other Heavenly King Mansions had other channels. Every time someone entered the Star Moon Ancient City, they would exit through a special passageway. This passageway would open every 10 years. Now, the 10 years were almost up. The Myriad Moon Lake was west of Star Crescent Ancient City. There was still a long way to go from the east. The two of them rushed at full speed and spent 7 days before they arrived at the exit. In the sky above a big valley, a huge vortex appeared. This was the exit passage. No one could explain why such a passage would open 10 years after they entered. Perhaps, it was a formation set up by the experts who built Star Crescent Ancient City. Everyone could only guess. When the two of them arrived, they found that there were people flying towards them from all directions. Some of them directly flew into the vortex and disappeared. Obviously, some of them had already left. Brother Lu Ming. A few voices sounded. Lu Ming turned around and saw Wu Ming, Wu Yu and the others flying towards him. Brother Wu Ming, Brother Wu Yu, Lu Ming smiled and greeted them. Miss Chiu Moon is fine. That's great. When Wu Ming and the others saw Chiu Moon, they also smiled. It's a long story. Let's go out and talk about it, Lu Ming said. Immediately, everyone flew into the whirlpool. After flying into the whirlpool, they felt the world spinning around them. In the next moment, Lu Ming discovered that he had already left Star Moon Ancient City and was back outside the city walls. With a glance, Lu Ming saw the elder of the Starry Sky Battalion, Bai Li, sitting cross-legged in the air. In addition, there were many figures standing in the sky. They were the geniuses of the Starry Barracks from the Starry Moon Ancient City. Lu Ming saw Su Yan, the young man, and Jin Yuan. Su Yan, the young man clad in animal skin, and the others nodded at Lu Ming as a greeting. As for Jin Yuan, his eyes were extremely cold and filled with killing intent. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a cold killing intent enveloping him. Lu Ming looked around and saw a beautiful woman coldly staring at him. Lan Ling. Who else could this woman be other than Lan Ling, who had been trying to kill him? However, Lan Ling did not attack this time. She only stared coldly at Lu Ming and then glanced at Autumn Moon. Young master, who is that lady? She seems to have a deep grudge against you. Did you do something wrong? Autumn Moon was very sensitive. She noticed Lan Ling and whispered softly, "Little girl, don't let your imagination run wild. I am a gentleman." Lu Ming immediately said righteously. She could not let her imagination run wild and ruin his character. Autumn Moon smiled and did not say much. It's him. At this moment, Lu Ming's eyes turned cold and his body emitted a cold killing intent. He saw a young man from the Winged Men tribe with lightning flashing on his wings. He was the one who had guided Lu Ming into the whirlpool at the Myriad Moon Lake. He was also the one who wanted to deal with Autumn Moon and force Autumn Moon into the whirlpool. Obviously, this person had come out earlier than Lu Ming and the rest. Boom! Lu Ming's body emitted a powerful aura. He took a step forward and charged towards the young man from the Winged Men tribe. Young master, be careful. Autumn Moon also noticed the young man. She knew that she could not persuade Lu Ming given his temper. She could only remind him worriedly and followed closely behind Lu Ming. Wu Ming and the rest looked at each other and followed behind Lu Ming. The people in front of Lu Ming were suppressed by Lu Ming's aura. They retreated and opened up a path for him. Lu Ming quickly moved towards the young man from the Winged Men tribe. The young man from the Winged Men tribe also saw Lu Ming and Autumn Moon. His expression changed drastically. Damn it. The two of them entered the whirlpool and are still fine? What a blunder! The young man from the Winged Men tribe looked gloomy. Seeing that Lu Ming was getting closer and closer to him, the young man from the Winged Men tribe felt chills all over his body. He shouted, "Lu Ming, what are you doing?" "Killing you." Lu Ming's reply was simple. His voice was bone-chilling. "Killing me? What do you mean? I didn't offend you. Why do you want to kill me? You're simply insane and lawless." The young man from the Winged Men tribe shouted. Of course, he would not admit that he wanted to deal with Autumn Moon. Lu Ming sneered. His aura became more aggressive. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with the young man. A long spear appeared in his hand. A spear radiance burst out and charged towards the young man from the Winged Men tribe. The young man from the Winged Men tribe was shocked. His aura surged, especially the pair of wings on his back. Thunder rumbled. He flapped his wings and they were like divine sabers piercing through the air. The thunderbolts on his wings transformed into two thunderbolt sabers that slashed toward Lu Ming. The thunder battle blades clashed with Lu Ming's spear radiance, causing a shockwave. The young man from the Winged Men tribe was not weak. He was a half-step divine king and his divine force had awakened to 99%. He was not far from fully awakening his divine force. However, how could he contend with Lu Ming's current strength? Boom! The thunder battle blades of the young man from the Winged Men tribe were shattered. The spear radiance did not stop and continued to charge towards the young man from the Winged Men tribe. The young man from the Winged Men tribe screamed in fear. His body soared into the sky, trying to dodge Lu Ming's spear radiance. However, he was too late. One of his thighs was pierced by the spear radiance and exploded. The young man from the Winged Men tribe screamed in pain. He retreated a few thousand meters and vomited blood. What? So powerful. Lu Ming's strength is so terrifying? Many people gasped in shock. Not everyone had seen Lu Ming's attack. Only a small portion of them had seen Lu Ming's attack. Those who had not seen Lu Ming's attack were shocked when they saw Lu Ming injuring the young man from the Winged Men tribe. The young man from the Winged Men tribe was called Yi Xiang. He was the 16th young master of the Winged Men tribe. His talent was outstanding and he was quite famous in the Starry Camp. Yi Xiang's strength had undoubtedly increased after the trip to the Starry Crescent ancient city. However, he was still no match for Lu Ming. How could Lu Ming be so powerful? You guys don't know. Lu Ming defeated Jin Yuan. Someone whispered. Chapter 3071. Someone talked about how Lu Ming defeated Jin Yuan, which shocked everyone. Oh my god, is that true? Lu Ming defeated Jin Yuan? If I remember correctly, Lu Ming was only a 4th-level heavenly god when he entered Xingyue Ancient City. How could he defeat Jin Yuan? That's too terrifying. After hearing that, many people found it hard to believe. There was a lot of discussion at the scene. Of course, most people still didn't know that Lu Ming had not only defeated Jin Yuan, but also the other peerless geniuses of the Heavenly King's mansion in the process of fighting for the Life Spirit Vitality Stone. Only Jin Yuan, Su Yan, and the young man in beast skin knew about this. They didn't spread the news. If the others knew about this, their jaws would probably drop. After hearing that, Jin Yuan's face was so gloomy that it was about to drip water. Lu Ming ignored the discussion around him. Right now, he only wanted to kill Yi Xiang. Min, kill this kid for me. Seeing that Lu Ming was continuing to attack, Yi Xiang shouted in horror. He didn't expect Lu Ming to be so strong. Don't even think about hurting young master. On the side, a loud roar was heard. Bolts of lightning flashed. In the next moment, more than 10 figures appeared in front of Yi Xiang. These figures were all the geniuses of the Thunder Winged Men clan. Yi Xiang was the 16th young master of the Thunder Winged Men clan. Ordinary geniuses of the Winged Men clan had to listen to Yi Xiang's orders. Kid, you're courting death by attacking young master Yi Xiang. Lu Ming, surrender and follow us back to the Winged Men clan to accept your punishment. The geniuses of the Winged Men clan shouted, using the Winged Men clan to suppress Lu Ming. But obviously, they had miscalculated. Why would Lu Ming care about the Winged Men clan? Get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Kid, you're very arrogant. Even if you're strong, do you think we can't do anything to you? Let's attack together and take down this kid. More than 10 geniuses of the Winged Men clan roared and released their powerful auras. Boom, boom. Releasing their auras, thunderbolts rumbled. More than 10 sky prides of the Winged Men race struck out at the same time. Flapping their wings, they sent bolts of thunderbolts towards Lu Ming. The power of lightning was already extremely strong. With so many sky prides joining forces, the power was truly frightening. Lu Ming let out a long roar. The battle character's secret art was activated, and his spear swept out. A gigantic spear light was formed. It was as huge as a mountain as it pressed down on the genius of the Winged Men race. Boom, boom. Streaks of lightning collided with Lu Ming's spear light, erupting with intense rumbling sounds. Then, those lightning bolts collapsed one after another, and the spear light continued to sweep out. The Winged Men prodigies' faces changed drastically as they shouted, "Block it! Block it!" They tried their best to use their strongest moves to block Lu Ming's attack. However, when the spear light swept past, the Winged Men race's sky prides were like cannonballs as they were sent flying by Lu Ming. They flew for tens of thousands of meters before coming to a stop. Then, they spat out mouthfuls of blood and were severely injured. After Lu Ming activated the battle character's secret art, his combat strength increased by 4 times, and he severely injured the Winged Men race's sky prides. His cold gaze swept towards Yi Xiang once again. Yi Xiang's face was as pale as a sheet. He desperately flew towards Bai Li and shouted, "Elder Bai, save me! Save me! This Lu Ming has gone crazy." He could only pin his hopes on Bai Li now. Only Bai Li could save him at this moment. "Kill!" Lu Ming shouted as he thrust out his spear. A terrifying and sharp spear light pierced towards Yi Xiang. It was shockingly fast. Yi Xiang wanted to dodge, but he realized that his body seemed to have been locked in place. He couldn't dodge at all. He had a feeling that if he was hit by this move, he would die. No. Save me! Yi Xiang screamed crazily. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. His eyes were filled with horror. Just as the spear light was about to hit Yi Xiang, a light screen suddenly appeared in front of Yi Xiang at the critical moment. Buzz! Lu Ming's spear light struck the light screen, causing it to vibrate slightly. Then the spear light disappeared. The spear light was blocked. "I'm saved," Yi Xiang stammered. He was covered in cold sweat and his body was trembling nonstop. He was really scared to death just now. Lu Ming's face darkened as he looked up into the sky. Bai Li was sitting cross-legged in the sky. Only Bai Li could save Yi Xiang. Obviously, the light screen just now was sent out by Yi Xiang. "Elder Bai, this person tried to assassinate my wife in Xinyue Ancient City. If my wife wasn't lucky, she would have died. I want to kill him. Why are you stopping me?" Lu Ming's voice was neither servile nor overbearing as it spread across the entire place. Many people were enlightened as they looked at Qiu Moon, who was beside Lu Ming. It turned out that Yi Xiang wanted to assassinate Qiu Moon. No wonder Lu Ming wanted to kill Yi Xiang the moment he saw him. "If you have any grudges, you can settle them in Xinyue Ancient City or wait until you return to the Starry Camp. I don't care how you want to kill me. However, since you have left Xinyue Ancient City alive, I have the obligation to bring you back to the Starry Camp safely." Bai Li said. "Elder Bai, are you sure you want to interfere?" Lu Ming asked. "That's right. Settle your grudges when you return to the Starry Camp." "I won't interfere," Bai Li said. His voice was firm and there was no room for negotiation. In fact, Bai Li had no other choice. The Thunderwings clan had great influence in the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace. Not only in the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Palace, but also in the Taishu dynasty. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, if he let Yi Xiang be killed by Lu Ming and did nothing, the Thunderwings clan would find trouble with him and he wouldn't be able to escape. As for Lu Ming, he didn't have any background. He naturally had to protect Yi Xiang. Since Elder Bai has said so, I won't interfere. Lu Ming's eyes flickered a few times before he turned around and left. Bai Li's cultivation was unfathomable. It wasn't something that Lu Ming could contend against. If Bai Li was determined to interfere, he wouldn't be able to kill Yi Xiang no matter what. If he insisted on taking action, not only would he fail to kill Yi Xiang, he would also offend Bai Li. After weighing the pros and cons, Lu Ming could only give up and find another chance to kill Yi Xiang in the future. There would be plenty of chances in the future. Lu Ming, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Yi Xiang stared at Lu Ming and roared in his heart. The scene calmed down once again. The crowd waited quietly for the others to come out from Xingyue Ancient City. In the blink of an eye, another 10 days had passed. Alright, 10 years have passed. The passage in Xingyue Ancient City has been closed. Those who haven't come out won't be able to come out. Let's go back. Bai Li's voice reverberated throughout the crowd. He then led the crowd towards the wormhole. On the way, Yi Xiang only followed beside Bai Li as he was afraid that Lu Ming would attack him. Chapter 3072. Soon, they arrived at the wormhole. You guys enter in batches. You guys go in first. Bai Li started to make arrangements. This time, he arranged for the others to enter in batches. The first batch included Yi Xiang and a dozen winged men youths. Yi Xiang and the winged men youths quickly rushed into the wormhole and disappeared. After a while, Bai Li arranged for another batch of people to enter. Just like that, batches after batches of people entered. As for Lu Ming and the rest, they were left for last. Lu Ming sneered. This Bai Li was obviously biased towards Yi Xiang. He purposely arranged for them to enter the wormhole in batches. Moreover, he arranged for Yi Xiang to be in the first batch and left Lu Ming to be in the last batch. He was afraid that Lu Ming would attack Yi Xiang when they returned to the Starry Sky Camp. This way, Yi Xiang would have time to escape when he returned to the Starry Sky Camp. What a good plan. However, Lu Ming couldn't object. He could only wait quietly. Now, come with me. At the end, Bai Li said to Lu Ming and the others. The group flew into the wormhole and returned to the territory of the Starry Sky Camp. After returning to the Starry Sky Camp, Lu Ming scanned the surroundings. As expected, he didn't see Xiang and the others. They must have left the camp and returned to the Winged Men clan. Brothers Wu, Lu Ming has a request. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to Wu Ming, Wu Yu and the others. Brother Lu, please speak your mind. If we can do it, we won't refuse. That's right. Wu Ming, Wu Yu and the others nodded in agreement. Not to mention that they were friends with Lu Ming, just Lu Ming's talent was enough to shock them. They had never seen someone as talented as Lu Ming. With Lu Ming's talent, his future would be immeasurable. When he grew up, he might even become a big shot in the Taishu dynasty. They must build a good relationship with such a person. The best time to build a good relationship with a person was when the other party hadn't grown up yet. I must kill Yi Xiang. Later, I'll have to trouble brothers Wu to help me find Yi Xiang's whereabouts. Lu Ming said. So it's this matter. It's no big deal. Leave it to us. That's right. Our Wu clan has many spies in the 9 Absolute Heavenly King Mansion. It's extremely easy to find out about a person's whereabouts. Wu Ming and Wu Yu patted their chests and agreed readily. However, Brother Lu, the Thunder Winged Man tribe is extremely powerful. Most importantly, the Thunder Winged Man tribe has many branches and is extremely powerful. If you want to kill Yi Xiang, you have to be careful. Wu Zixiong reminded. I know. Thank you for your concern, Brother Wu. Lu Ming smiled. He naturally knew that the Winged Clan was not to be trifled with. However, the Winged Clan had almost killed Chiao Autumn Moon. He could not let this matter rest. Moreover, even if he wanted to let it go, the other party would not let him off so easily. They chatted as they flew towards their respective residences. Not long after, Lu Ming and Chiao Yu returned to the courtyard where they lived. In truth, with Chiao Autumn Moon's current strength, he was completely capable of challenging others and easily seizing a monastery. However, she liked to stay together with Lu Ming. Hence, there was no need for him to seize another monastery. Chiao Autumn Moon, your cultivation has just skyrocketed. You need to consolidate it. Lu Ming said to Autumn Moon. And, young master, I'll go and cultivate then. Chiao Autumn Moon nodded and returned to her room to cultivate. Lu Ming also returned to his room. The moment he opened the door, a metal ball flew towards Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, you're finally back. I'm bored to death staying here alone." Chiu cried out as its round body spun around. "You're always eating and sleeping. How can you be lonely?" Lu Ming's lips twitched. He sized up Chiu and his eyes suddenly lit up. "Chiu, your cultivation has broken through again?" Lu Ming asked in surprise. Yes. "I've broken through. I'm now at the second layer of the God King realm. How is it? Awesome, right?" Chiu bounced up and down, his face full of pride. "Indeed," Lu Ming said happily. "One should know that breaking through to the God King realm was extremely difficult. Every breakthrough required a long period of accumulation. However, Chiu had just broken through not too long ago and had broken through again. This speed was astonishing. Seems like this guy only has precious metal attribute materials to break through at an astonishing speed," Lu Ming muttered. During the hundreds of years that Chiu had been asleep, Lu Ming had accumulated a large amount of precious metal attribute materials. After Chiu had awakened, Lu Ming had given it all to Chiu. Clearly, after digesting those metal attribute materials, Chiu's cultivation had broken through to the second layer of the God King realm. Chiu's strength was already astonishing. Now that it had broken through to the second layer of the God King realm, it was undoubtedly even stronger. "Chiu, I have something good for you." Lu Ming smiled, then took out a few treasures. Lu Ming had obtained 2 boxes from the castle in Starmoon Ancient City. Inside were some small towers, mirrors, and other treasures. Although many years had passed and most of their spiritual energy had been lost, the materials used to make these treasures were extremely rare and precious. They would be of great help to Chiu. Lu Ming took out a few treasures and gave them to Chiu to try. He wanted to see how effective they were. As soon as Chiu saw these treasures, its eyes sparkled. It couldn't move its gaze away. "Delicious, delicious, absolutely delicious. Are these all for me?" Looking at the treasures, Chiu almost drooled. "Are these treasures of great help to you?" Lu Ming asked. "Yes, of course. They're even better than what you gave me before." Chiu nodded immediately. Its eyes didn't leave the treasures, as if it couldn't wait to hug them and take a few bites. "Then take them. I have more here. If you want to eat them, I'll take them." Lu Ming smiled and threw the treasures to Chiu. Chiu stretched out 2 claws, grabbed them, and stuffed them into its mouth, chewing loudly. Lu Ming smiled, walked into the room, and sat cross-legged on the bed. Then, a few storage rings appeared in his hand. During this trip to Starmoon Ancient City, Lu Ming had killed many opponents. They were all top geniuses. Obtaining their storage rings must be a great harvest. Lu Ming checked them one by one. Half a day later, Lu Ming had sorted out the things in all the storage rings. A great harvest. The wealth of so many geniuses added together was a great harvest. All kinds of divine weapons, divine pills, materials, and divine crystals were piled up like a mountain. Lu Ming had almost used up all the divine crystals to buy the 5 divine-grade divine techniques. Now he was rich again. These were still considered good. What delighted Lu Ming the most were the divine techniques. Lu Ming sorted out 4 divine-grade divine techniques in the storage rings of these peerless geniuses. As for the divine techniques, there were dozens of them. However, Lu Ming didn't care about the divine techniques at all. He casually stuffed them into a storage ring. What Lu Ming cared about were the 4 divine-grade divine techniques. Chapter 3073. He had obtained 4 different divine-grade techniques from Yu Han, Chu Baxing, and young noble heavenly mantis's storage rings. Unfortunately, none of them matched Lu Ming's Golden Dragon God Force or 4-eyed Divine Dragon God Force. Thus, the Golden Dragon God Force and 4-eyed Divine Dragon God Force couldn't be merged. Lu Ming yearned for the divine-grade divine power that corresponded to these 2 divine powers. As long as he could obtain the corresponding divine-grade God Force, all of Lu Ming's God Force would be transformed into divine-grade God Force. Also, the Divine Dragon aspect art required divine power related to dragons in order to unleash its full power. Furthermore, his new yin-yang divine pupils required a God Force related to his eyes. Four-eyed divine dragon god force could enhance his yin-yang divine pupils. If he could cultivate a divine grade god force similar to his four-eyed divine dragon god force, the enhancement would be even greater. I still need to find an opportunity to inquire about these two types of god force. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. Then he pondered over the 4 divine grade techniques in his possession. He didn't plan to cultivate all 4 divine grade techniques at the moment. He had already grasped enough divine grade god force. The amount of energy required to enhance so many types of divine grade god force at the same time was shocking. Furthermore, Lu Ming planned to awaken his origin god force factor. This would cost Lu Ming a lot of energy. Lu Ming didn't have that much time to cultivate. Originally, Lu Ming didn't plan to cultivate any of the 4 divine grade techniques. However, one of them attracted Lu Ming's attention. Overlord Spear Art. This was a divine grade technique he had obtained from Chu Baxing. After cultivating it, he would be able to condense the Overlord Spear Art. The Overlord Spear Art would greatly enhance the power of the spear. It was the same principle as the inextinguishable sword force for sword users. Lu Ming was a spear user. Although the inextinguishable sword force was powerful, it wasn't very suitable for a long spear. If he could control the Overlord Spear Art, he would be able to push Lu Ming's spear skills to the limit. Another important reason was that Lu Ming had obtained a divine skill from Chu Baxing. The name of the skill reminded Lu Ming of Chu Baxing's ultimate move, the War God Strike. The strike of the War God originated from the War God Strike. Lu Ming's 3 Armageddon strikes only had a total of 9 levels. Lu Ming had already reached the 8th level. Once he reached the 9th level, he would reach his limit. At that time, Lu Ming would need to find a new divine skill to cultivate. As for the War God Strike, it was divided into 13 stages. This was enough for Lu Ming to cultivate for a very long time. Therefore, Lu Ming decided to cultivate the Overlord Spear Art and temporarily not cultivate the other 3 divine techniques. Putting away the other 3 divine techniques, Lu Ming took out the Overlord Spear Art and carefully studied it. In the blink of an eye, several days passed. Lu Ming had already comprehended a bit of it. Right now, Lu Ming was already very familiar with divine grade divine techniques. Switching to a new one, his speed was much faster than before. On this day, while Lu Ming was cultivating, he suddenly sensed an aura approaching his courtyard. Oh! Lu Ming frowned. Ending his cultivation, he walked out of his courtyard. As soon as he walked out, he saw a beautiful woman standing in the air. She was like a fairy that had descended to the mortal world. The woman was none other than Lan Ling. Could it be that she had killed her way here? What are you doing here? Do you want to kill me again? Lu Ming frowned and said coldly. Right now, he wasn't afraid of her. If she wanted to attack him again, he wouldn't mind teaching her an unforgettable lesson. Lan Ling's expression was very cold. She glared at Lu Ming, gnashing her teeth as if she wanted nothing more than to immediately kill Lu Ming. But in the end, she restrained herself and coldly said, "My father wants to see you." Your father? Lu Ming was slightly stunned. Then his eyes flashed. Lan Ling's father was Jing Yu's teacher. Are you going to see him or not? I've already delivered your message. If you don't want to see him, then goodbye. Lan Ling finished speaking and turned to leave. It was as if she couldn't wait for Lu Ming to refuse to see her father. See him? Why not? Lu Ming rose into the air and followed behind Lan Ling. Her father was Jing Yu's teacher. In the Taishu dynasty, he was definitely a big shot. If Lu Ming wanted to reverse the case for Jing Yu, it would be much easier if he could borrow his father's power. Why not? Lu Ming wasn't stupid. Seeing Lu Ming following her, Lan Ling coldly snorted. She seemed to be very unhappy. Lan Ling kept flying towards the peak of Star Peak. You and your father are living at the peak of Star Peak? Lu Ming asked curiously. Lan Ling snorted coldly. Isn't your father Prince Jing Yu's teacher? Why isn't he in the imperial capital of the Taishu dynasty? Why is he living in the starry camp of the Jiuju Heavenly King Mansion? Lu Ming asked again. Lan Ling snorted coldly. What exactly happened back then? Do you know anything about it? Lu Ming asked. Lan Ling snorted coldly. Lu Ming was speechless. He could only shut up. No matter what he asked, the other party only replied with a snort. Not long after, the two of them arrived at a courtyard not far from the peak of Star Peak. Outside the courtyard, there was a small lake. The lake water was so clear that one could see the bottom. They could even see small fish swimming around in the lake. On the surface of the lake, there was a middle-aged man with graying temples. He wore an ordinary linen robe and sat cross-legged on the surface of the lake. He seemed to be admiring the small fish in the lake. "Father!" Lan Ling called out softly. "Coming," the middle-aged man said. He then stood up and looked at Lu Ming. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Lu Ming, and Lan Ling. "Is this Jing Yu's teacher?" As expected, he has an extraordinary temperament. However, why is there not a trace of divine power on him? He is just like an ordinary person. Perhaps his cultivation is too high and the gap between us is too big. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. The middle-aged man also looked at Lu Ming carefully. His eyes were bright as if he could see through Lu Ming. Not bad, not bad. I can't see through him at all. As expected of Jing Yu's successor. The middle-aged man nodded repeatedly and said, "Lu Ming, come with me. I have something to tell you." After saying that, the middle-aged man walked into the courtyard. Lu Ming's eyes flickered a few times. He then followed the middle-aged man into the courtyard. Lan Ling did not follow. Instead, she waited outside the courtyard. Walking into the courtyard, there were stone tables and stone stools placed in the courtyard. "Sit." The middle-aged man sat down on a stone stool and waved his hand, indicating Lu Ming to sit. "Thank you, senior." Lu Ming cupped his fists and sat down. "I'm Blue Merchant." The middle-aged man introduced himself. "Senior Blue Merchant." Lu Ming greeted. "You're welcome. You're Jing Yu's successor. Logically speaking, you're 2 generations below me. However, we're not strangers. You can just call me Uncle Lan Shu." Lan Shang said with a smile, making people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. Lu Ming nodded and called him Uncle Lan Shu. Chapter 3074. Uncle Lan Shu, I would like to know, how did you know that I'm Senior Jing Yu's successor? Lu Ming asked the question that had been bothering him for a long time. He was certain that Lan Shang had seen through his disguise during his battle with Ice Eagle. But how did the other party see through it? "Because you cultivate sovereign god force," Blue Merchant said with a faint smile. "Sovereign god force?" Lu Ming was puzzled. "That's right. There's a trace of Jing Yu's imprint in your sovereign god force. Although it's very faint, I've guided Jing Yu's cultivation for many years and know him too well. Therefore, even though there's only a trace of Jing Yu's imprint in your sovereign god force, I can still sense it. Other than Jing Yu's successor, who else would have Jing Yu's imprint?" Blue Merchant said with a faint smile. "Jing Yu's imprint?" Lu Ming's mind raced, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Back when he was in the Yellow Springs Mountain, he had studied the Sovereign Tao by looking at Jing Yu's statue. Perhaps that was why his sovereign god force had a trace of Jing Yu's imprint. "You were able to obtain Jing Yu's inheritance because you came from the Yellow Springs Mountain's sealed land, right? How's the Yellow Springs Mountain now?" Lan Shang asked with a complicated look in his eyes. Lu Ming immediately explained what had happened in the Yellow Springs Mountain. "Sigh, it's been hard on them. One day, they'll see the light of day again," Blue Merchant said. His eyes shone brightly as he spoke. "Uncle Lan Shu, what happened back then? Senior Jing Yu, who did this to you?" Lu Ming asked. Blue Merchant shook his head and said, "I don't know. What I know is similar to what Jing Yu knows. Back then, Jing Yu was framed and fell. His trusted aides were either killed or sealed. As for me, I was stripped of my authority. Due to some reason, I came to the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence." Blue Merchant sighed. Many things seemed to have happened back then, and he didn't want to talk about it. Then, his tone changed as he said, "Prince Jing Yu must have been framed back then. This matter must be investigated thoroughly. I've promised Senior Jing Yu that I'll investigate this matter and help him reverse the verdict. At that time, I'll have to trouble Uncle Lan Shu to help me." Lu Ming said, "Of course, I will do my best to help you." However, now is not the time. There is no need to rush this matter. Your current goal is to increase your strength. Your current strength is still too weak in the Taishu Holy Court, Yi Futian said. Lan Shang said. Lu Ming nodded, his head nodded, but he sighed in his heart. His strength had increased very quickly, faster than most people, but he always felt that his cultivation was not enough. By the way, you said you're from the Qin Tian Star Field. Why did you come to the Starry Camp? Oh, are you going to use the Starry Camp as a springboard to enter the Taishu Imperial Academy? Then, you'll use the Taishu Imperial Academy as your foundation to slowly rise and investigate Prince Jingyu's case? Blue Merchant suddenly said. Taishu Imperial Academy? Lu Ming was puzzled. You don't know about the Taishu Imperial Academy? Blue Merchant was surprised. I don't know. What does it do? Lu Ming shook his head and asked. The Taishu Imperial Academy is the place where all the sky prides of the Taishu dynasty gathered. Not only all the top sky prides of the Taishu dynasty gathered there, but even the princes and princesses of the Taishu dynasty studied there. That's the place where the Taishu dynasty cultivated their talents. Almost all the big shots of the Taishu dynasty came from the Taishu dynasty. Prince Jingyu also studied in the Taishu dynasty. But if you want to enter the Taishu dynasty, you'll have to be recommended by the big shots of the Taishu dynasty. Otherwise, you can only enter the starry camp of each heavenly king's mansion. Blue Merchant explained. Lu Ming was suddenly enlightened. He understood now. He had heard from Wu Zifeng and the others that if one wanted to enter the core area of the Taishu dynasty to cultivate, one had to join the starry camp first. If one didn't join the starry camp, one wouldn't be able to cultivate in the Taishu dynasty. I didn't come to the starry camp to enter the Taishu Imperial Academy. Lu Ming said. Then what's your purpose here? Blue Merchant was surprised. It's for the treasure of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King's Mansion, the theft of the 9 Extinction Divine Crystal. Lu Ming said. The 9 Extinction Godly Crystal? I've heard about it. How is it? How's your investigation going? Blue Merchant asked. I still don't have a clue. Lu Ming shook his head and briefly recounted what had happened during this period of time. He also said that he suspected that there was evidence in the storage ring of the Dark Knight Demon, but he couldn't find it even after searching it many times. There are some ways to seal some evidence very deeply. It's normal that you can't find it. Give me the storage ring of the Dark Knight Demon and I'll help you find it. Blue Merchant said. Thank you, Uncle Lan Shu. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He immediately took out the storage ring of the Dark Knight Demon and gave it to Blue Merchant. Blue Merchant was Jingyu's teacher. His cultivation was unfathomable and he was knowledgeable. He might be able to find evidence. If he could find evidence and find the person who colluded with the Dark Ice race to steal the 9 Extinction Divine Crystal, the safety of the Qin Tian Star Zone would be solved. Blue Merchant took the storage ring and put it away. By the way, there's one more thing. Lan Shang's tone suddenly changed. He coughed dryly and said, when Jingyu was still alive, I made an agreement with him that if we had descendants in the future, if they were of the same gender, we would become brothers or sisters. If they were of the opposite gender, we would become husband and wife. Later, Jingyu died and didn't have any descendants. As Jingyu's successor, you are equivalent to his descendant. I will definitely fulfill my promise and marry Ling to you. Lu Ming was caught off guard. He didn't expect Blue Merchant to mention this. Uncle Lan Shu, you can't do that. I've only met Miss Lan Ling once, no twice. Isn't it too hasty to marry her to me? Lu Ming waved his hand. That's easy. You can move in together and spend more time together. You'll be familiar with each other in the future. Blue Merchant smiled. He was very open-minded. No, Uncle Lan Shu. To be honest, I already have a wife. Lu Ming said. It's okay. It's normal for a man to have multiple wives. Blue Merchant said. Lu Ming was speechless. Blue Merchant was very open-minded. He was pushing his daughter into the fire pit. However, Lu Ming had Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon. In addition, he had Mulans and Huang Ling, 2 confidants. He already had enough headaches. He didn't want another one. Moreover, when he thought of Lan Ling's murderous expression, Lu Ming refused even more. Living with Lan Ling? What a joke. He wouldn't even know when he was killed by her. Uncle Lan Shu, no, still no. Lu Ming still shook his head. But, do you think my daughter is not worthy of you? Blue Merchant's face sank and said coldly. Chapter 3075. How could that be? Miss Ling is as beautiful as a fairy. How could she not be worthy of me? It's just that Miss Ling wants to kill me. Lu Ming began to complain. Wants to kill you? Blue Merchant was slightly taken aback. Then he smiled bitterly and said, "This girl is really rebellious." Then, Blue Merchant frowned and fell into deep thought. Lu Ming secretly prayed that Blue Merchant would give up on the idea of marrying Lan Ling to him. Although Lan Ling was an outstanding beauty and any man would be moved by her, Lu Ming knew that he didn't have the fortune to be with her bad temper. After a while, Blue Merchant said, "How about this? I won't make things difficult for you. I'll let Ling stay by your side for 1,000 years and let you develop feelings for each other. If after 1,000 years, you still don't want to marry each other, then this matter will be dropped." This isn't too good. Lu Ming's face immediately turned bitter. Let Lan Ling, that crazy woman, stay by his side for 1,000 years? What a joke. At the thought of this, Lu Ming felt a headache coming. What's not good about it? Feelings need to be developed. You're afraid that Ling will make a move on you again. Don't worry, I'll warn her properly. In addition, Ling talent is not bad. If you two are together, you can take care of each other and help Jinyu reverse the case. This matter is settled. Blue Merchant waved his hand and settled this matter. Lu Ming was completely speechless. Haha, that's it. Lu Ming, go out and wait for me. I'll call Ling in and give her a good scolding. Lan Shang laughed out loud. He laughed like a sly old fox. Lu Ming despised him in his heart. This Blue Merchant looked gentle on the surface, but in fact he was scheming in his heart. He wanted to set him up with Lan Ling. He believed that with Lan Ling's beauty, staying with Lu Ming every day, they would definitely develop feelings for each other. This old man must have taken a fancy to my talent. Sigh, there's nothing I can do about it. Who asked me to be so talented and handsome? There's really nothing I can do about it. Lu Ming sighed inwardly. If Blue Merchant knew what Lu Ming was thinking, he would probably spit out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ming walked out of the courtyard and saw Lan Ling. He said to Lan Ling, "Your father is looking for you." Lan Ling coldly snorted and walked into the courtyard without looking at Lu Ming. Lu Ming waited in the garden. Not long after, he saw Blue Merchant and Lan Ling walking out together. Lan Ling's eyes were red. When she saw Lu Ming, she glared hatefully at Lu Ming. She wished she could eat Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, I'll tell Ling to inform you about the matter of the evidence after I find it. Now, I'll let Ling send you back." "Ling send Lu Ming off," Blue Merchant instructed. Lan Ling gritted her teeth and walked unwillingly to Lu Ming's side. She said coldly, "Let's go." Lu Ming smiled bitterly. It seemed that Lan Ling was really reprimanded by Blue Merchant. It seemed that her resentment towards him was even heavier. "Uncle Lan Shu, goodbye." Lu Ming cupped his fists. Then he stepped into the air and flew towards his own courtyard. Lan Ling walked side by side with Lu Ming with a cold face. After a while, they were far away from Blue Merchant's residence. "Lu Ming, what did you say to my father?" Suddenly Lan Ling spoke. Her voice was cold as she glared at Lu Ming. "No, I didn't say anything," Lu Ming said. Of course, he had to deny it. "You didn't say anything? Then why would my father reprimand me? You're a man, but you actually snitched in front of my father. You're really shameless," Lan Ling said hatefully. Lu Ming was speechless. He felt wronged in his heart. It was the other party who wanted to kill him as soon as they met. Couldn't he say anything? "Lecher, you already have a woman by your side. You still want me to follow you? Shameless, despicable." Lan Ling continued to scold. Lu Ming almost coughed up blood. What did she mean by him wanting Lan Ling to follow him? It was clearly Blue Merchant who forced her to follow him, okay? "Don't talk nonsense. It was your father who forced you to follow me for 1,000 years. I originally refused, Lu Ming quickly denied. You mean to say that no one wants me and it was my father who forced me to follow you? Am I trying to climb up your social ladder? Lan Ling's face turned colder. Lu Ming almost coughed up blood. How could this woman's imagination be so wild? He didn't mean that. It's fine if you want to follow me for 1,000 years, but it depends on whether you have the ability or not. If you can survive 3 of my moves, I'll follow you for 1,000 years. Suddenly, Lan Ling's voice turned cold. A cold, murderous intent shrouded Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned. He felt that Lan Ling really wanted to kill him. She wanted to use this reason to kill him. However, that was then and this was now. Lu Ming's current strength was many times stronger than when he first met Lan Ling. Come on, let me have a taste of your moves. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. He had already given way many times, but Lan Ling was still pressing on. Lu Ming was also angry. Clang. The long sword was unsheathed and the sword's cry was earth-shattering. First move. Lan Ling's voice had just sounded when a terrifying sword light slashed towards Lu Ming. Its power was extremely shocking. This move could even kill a half-step divine king who hadn't awakened his divine origin power. Lan Ling attacked without mercy. Boom. Lu Ming's body also erupted with a powerful aura. A long spear appeared in his hand and he swung it out. Clang. The long spear collided with the sword light, erupting with a violent rumble. Terrifying force chi spread out in all directions like a storm. When the force chi dissipated, Lu Ming and Lan Ling's bodies stood in the void motionlessly. Turns out that he already awakened his divine origin power. Lan Ling's gaze sharpened, revealing a look of surprise. She did not expect that Lu Ming only had 6th-level celestial deity cultivation and he already awakened his divine origin power. Wait a minute, 6th-level celestial deity. Lan Ling thought of something and secretly revealed a look of surprise. She remembered very clearly that back then at Star Moon Ancient City, Lu Ming's cultivation was only 4th-level celestial deity. Just how long had it been? Lu Ming actually broke through 2 rounds in a row and reached 6th-level celestial deity. This speed was also too fast. He must have had a fortuitous encounter in Star Moon Ancient City. Otherwise, it's absolutely impossible to be so fast by relying on his own cultivation. Lan Ling's heart skipped a beat. She did not guess wrong about this. Lu Ming did have a fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible for his cultivation to rise so quickly. One move, Lu Ming said indifferently. Originally, he could have purposely lost to the other party. Then Lan Ling would not have to follow by his side. However, Lu Ming also had his pride. He wanted to teach Lan Ling a lesson now. Naturally, he would not give in. Humph, don't think that you can stop me just because you've awakened your divine origin power. Lan Ling snorted coldly. The aura on her body became even stronger. Her strength was pushed to the extreme by her. Buzz. A sword shadow that was tens of thousands of meters long continuously shook the void. Then, it slashed down violently at Lu Ming with terrifying might. Chapter 3076. Lan Ling pushed her cultivation base to the maximum and slashed out a terrifying attack. Lan Ling's cultivation base was extremely high. She was only half a step away from the Divine King realm. It seemed like she could break through to the Divine King realm at any time. Moreover, her strength was extremely strong. She was even stronger than when she was in Xingyue Ancient City. Lu Ming felt that she was stronger than Jin Yuan and not any weaker than Chu Baxing. Obviously, Lu Ming wasn't the only one who had improved in Xingyue Ancient City. Others had improved as well. Moon slashing. Lu Ming roared and instantly activated the battle character's secret art to increase his combat strength by 4 times. He then slashed out with his spear. A crescent-shaped spear light slashed towards Lan Ling. Boom. The second collision caused an even more shocking shockwave. Fortunately, the 2 of them were already high up in the sky. Otherwise, the entire Starry Sky barracks would be alarmed by them. There was still no clear winner in this collision. The second move, Lu Ming said indifferently. Lan Ling's face turned even uglier. The sword intent on her body was getting stronger and stronger. Divine sword art kill? Lan Ling shouted as she waved her battle sword, unleashing countless sword shadows and sword intents. Each of the sword intents were over 10,000 meters long. The entire void was filled with the shadows of her swords. Then, countless sword shadows slashed towards Lu Ming with boundless power. If Lu Ming hadn't broken through to the sixth heaven god realm, Lu Ming would have had to transform into a green-armored ancient god to block this move. But now, Lu Ming didn't need to do that. Divine Dragon Image, Ice Chain. With a thought, Lu Ming cast the two secret skills of the Divine Dragon Dharma characteristic and the Ice Chain. Asterisk roar. Asterisk a series of dragon cries echoed in the sky. 9 nine-clawed divine dragons flew out and pounced toward the sword shadows that filled the sky. At the same time, 9 ice chains danced around Lu Ming's body like ice dragons. The terrifying coldness almost froze the space around them. Chunks of ice appeared in the air. Boom, boom. The divine dragon Dharma idol bore the brunt of the attack. It collided with the sword shadows in the sky, causing explosions. However, the 9 divine dragon Dharma idols soon crumbled under the onslaught of sword shadows. Then, the sword shadows slashed at the ice chains, shattering countless ice cubes and causing the ice chains to shake violently. Break the sky, break the sky. Lu Ming's long spear continued to thrust out. Spear lights flew out like meteors and collided with Lan Ling's sword shadows. The void continued to rumble. After a few minutes, the collision finally stopped. Lu Ming had retreated 1,000 meters, but his breathing was steady. He had successfully blocked Lan Ling's sword shadow. Lan Ling's eyes widened in disbelief. Back in Xingyue Ancient City, Lu Ming could only run for his life when he saw her. He might not even be able to withstand one of her moves. But now, Lu Ming could withstand 3 of her moves. Most importantly, she had already used her ultimate move in her last move. Lu Ming's strength had increased too quickly. 3 moves. Lu Ming said faintly. I don't believe that I can't suppress you today. Lan Ling flew into a rage out of humiliation. She shouted and released a terrifying aura. She was about to charge at Lu Ming again. Now it's my turn. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold as he cast the 9 Heavens Kunpeng technique. In a flash, he dashed toward Lan Ling. In the process, his body swelled rapidly and he transformed into a green-armored ancient god. The green-armored ancient god was a few hundred meters tall. Compared to him, Lan Ling was like an ant. Lu Ming opened one of his big hands and grabbed Lan Ling. The sky rumbled as his palm reached out. It was extremely terrifying. Divine sword skill, Lan Ling shouted. Her sword shadow soared into the sky and slashed at Lu Ming's palm. However, Lu Ming controlled the ice chain and wrapped his palm to strengthen his defense. With the ice chain and the green scales of the green-armored ancient god as a double defense, Lu Ming was not afraid of Lan Ling's sword shadow at all. Under the big hand, Lan Ling's sword shadow crumbled. Lan Ling's expression changed. She wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The big hand grabbed Lan Ling. Lan Ling struggled desperately, but Lu Ming controlled his divine power and poured it into Lan Ling's body. Lan Ling gasped and felt that the divine power in her body was almost shattered. She felt weak all over. In this way, she was firmly controlled by Lu Ming and could not resist. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, he could completely suppress Lan Ling after transforming into a green-armored ancient god. After controlling Lan Ling, Lu Ming's body quickly shrank and turned back to normal. He trapped Lan Ling with an ice chain. Let me go, let me go. Lan Ling shouted and struggled frantically, but it was useless. She could not break free at all. Let you go? You tried to kill me again and again in Star Crescent Ancient City. I saved you later, but you tried to kill me again just now. Tell me, do you think I will let you go? Lu Ming sneered and walked step by step to Lan Ling's side. Then, what do you want to do? Lan Ling gritted her teeth and said, What do I want to do? What do you think? Lu Ming laughed and looked at Lan Ling's body. You, pervert, don't even think about it. Let me tell you, my father is definitely watching us. Do you dare? Lan Ling shouted. Your father? Your father can't wait for me to do you on the spot. Lu Ming said indifferently. On Star Peak, In Blue Merchant's courtyard, Blue Merchant had just taken a sip of tea and spat it out. "This little guy, what are you talking about?" Blue Merchant muttered, feeling a little embarrassed. That's right, everything that happened between Lu Ming and Lan Ling was under Blue Merchant's attention. However, Lu Ming was right. If Lu Ming really wanted to doom Lan Ling, he would be more than happy to do so. Nonsense, Lan Ling stared at Lu Ming with hatred. "But don't worry, I'm not interested in you," Lu Ming said indifferently, causing Lan Ling to grit her teeth. For some reason, she felt uncomfortable in her heart. Lu Ming was not interested in her? Was her attractiveness that bad? It had to be said that women had strange thoughts. However, punishment is unavoidable. If I don't teach you a lesson, I'll feel uncomfortable. Lu Ming smiled, then took a step forward, stretched out his hand, and slapped Lan Ling's perky butt. Slap. A crisp sound could be heard. Lan Ling's body stiffened all of a sudden. The expression on her face was also like that of a person staring blankly at Lu Ming. "What are you looking at? The feeling is not bad, again." After saying that, Lu Ming slapped her again. Slap. Another crisp sound was heard. This time, Lan Ling finally reacted, and a scream was heard in the sky. "Lu Ming, I'm going to kill you." Lan Ling's face was red, even her ears and neck were red. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws, wishing that she could tear Lu Ming into pieces. "You're still so fierce. Seems like I haven't taught you a lesson yet, again." Lu Ming continued to slap her. Slap, slap, slap. This time, 3 consecutive sounds were heard, causing Lan Ling's body to stiffen completely. Her face was so red that it was about to bleed. Chapter 3077. After being slapped by Lu Ming 3 times in a row, Lan Ling's face and neck turned red as if blood was about to drip out. Her body trembled slightly, and her eyes were wide open. She wished she could eat Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, you still dare to stare? Try staring again." Lu Ming curled his lips. Lan Ling was still glaring at him. "Sigh, it doesn't feel good to hit you through your pants. Take them off and hit me." Lu Ming waved his hand and muttered. Lan Ling didn't dare to stare at him anymore. She cried out, "No, don't." When she thought that Lu Ming was really going to take off his pants, she really wanted to die. "You're finally begging for mercy. Come, tell me, do you still dare to hit or kill me when you see me in the future?" Lu Ming asked. "No, I don't dare anymore." Under Lu Ming's abuse, Lan Ling finally gave in. Although she wanted to chop Lu Ming into pieces, she really didn't dare to be brave under such circumstances. Until now, her father, Blue Merchant, hadn't appeared. She knew that Blue Merchant deliberately didn't appear. He wanted to matchmake her and Lu Ming. She couldn't count on Blue Merchant. She felt like crying. How could a father be like this? He couldn't wait to marry her to someone else. It wasn't like no one wanted her. That's more like it. Behave yourself in the future. I, Lu Ming, am also a gentleman. I won't make things difficult for you." Lu Ming chuckled. With a wave of his hand, the ice shackles were put away. After all, Lan Ling was Blue Merchant's daughter. It was fine to teach her a lesson, but it wouldn't be good to go too far. Lan Ling gritted her teeth. She despised Lu Ming and scolded Lu Ming thousands of times in her heart. How could a person like Lu Ming have the nerve to call himself a gentleman? However, Lan Ling didn't dare to make a move now, because she was no match for Lu Ming. "Lu Ming, I'll remember this. When I break through to the Divine King realm, I'll definitely get back at you." Lan Ling swore in her heart. "Let's go," Lu Ming said. He stepped into the air and continued to head toward the courtyard where he was staying. Lan Ling followed behind him obediently. In Blue Merchant's courtyard. "Hee, they're starting to flirt, a good sign." Lan Shang let out a few sneaky laughs. If Lan Ling saw Lan Shang's expression, she would probably vomit blood. Not long after, Lu Ming and Lan Ling arrived outside Lu Ming's courtyard. "Young master." In the courtyard, Autumn Moon was practicing her sword. When she saw Lu Ming, she immediately flew out. "Autumn Moon, how's your cultivation going?" Lu Ming greeted her with a smile. "I'm much more familiar with it. I believe I'll be able to fully control it soon." "This lady is Autumn Moon looked at Lan Ling. Autumn Moon recognized Lan Ling. When they left Xingyue Ancient City, Lan Ling had been staring coldly at Lu Ming. Autumn Moon even teased Lu Ming. Now that she saw Lu Ming and Lan Ling returning together, she was naturally curious. "I'm Lan Ling." Before Lu Ming could speak, Lan Ling stepped out and said coldly. Then she stared at Lu Ming and said, "Lu Ming, I can follow you. But you must chase her away." After saying that, she pointed at Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon was slightly stunned and revealed a curious look. Lu Ming frowned. "Are you crazy? Autumn Moon is my wife. Why should I chase her away?" "Because she's your wife. That's why you want to chase her away." Lan Ling gritted her teeth. "You're crazy. If you don't want to come, then leave." Lu Ming waved his hand and ignored Lan Ling clang. Lan Ling unsheathed her sword. A powerful aura pressed down on Autumn Moon. Boom! Lu Ming stepped out and the void shook. The powerful aura directly defeated Lan Ling's aura. "Seems like I haven't taught you a lesson yet." Lu Ming stared at Lan Ling, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. He didn't care much about attacking him. But to attack Autumn Moon, that was unacceptable. No matter who the other party was, he wouldn't go easy on them. Seeing Lu Ming's expression, Lan Ling was shocked. But as stubborn as she was, she wouldn't back down. "Lu Ming, you have to understand what you're going to do in the future. You're going to do great things. The enemies you're going to face are extremely powerful. So, the people around you can't be useless. They can't be a burden to you. Do you understand?" Lan Ling said coldly. Her meaning was obvious. Autumn Moon wasn't qualified to stay by Lu Ming's side. "Get lost. Go back and tell Blue Merchant that I don't need you here." Lu Ming shouted coldly. "Lu Ming," Lan Ling was furious. Since young, no one had treated her like this. She was an outstanding beauty. Any man who saw her would be obedient to her. Lu Ming was an exception. "Young master, since this lady wants to test Autumn Moon's strength, let her try." At this moment, Autumn Moon spoke. She stepped out and landed in front of Lu Ming. Autumn Moon was actually arrogant. It was just that she kept her arrogance in front of Lu Ming. But that didn't mean that others could humiliate her and look down on her. Especially in front of Lu Ming. They thought that she wasn't qualified to stay by Lu Ming's side. So, Autumn Moon decided to make a move. Lu Ming's eyes flashed, but he didn't stop her. He naturally understood Autumn Moon's temper. Moreover, Autumn Moon was no longer the same as before. If they fought, she might not lose to Lan Ling. "Alright, be careful then," Lu Ming reminded. Autumn Moon nodded. She faced Lan Ling and said, "Lady, please make your move. Just do your best." "Very good. Then let me see how capable the woman that Lu Ming likes is." Lan Ling gritted her teeth and unleashed her cultivation to the extreme. She didn't know why, but when she saw that Lu Ming treated Autumn Moon so well, she felt an inexplicable discomfort in her heart. She couldn't wait to defeat Autumn Moon and prove that she was stronger than Autumn Moon. Swoosh! Lan Ling made her move. A sword shadow slashed out violently, causing the air to explode. However, at the instant when Lan Ling made her move, Autumn Moon also made her move. Autumn Moon's weapon was a scimitar. When the scimitar slashed out, the blade light was as dazzling as the moon. Clang! The blade light and the sword shadow slashed together, causing endless blade light and sword light. After a loud sound, the two figures retreated more than 10 steps. The two of them were evenly matched in the first exchange. Autumn Moon was still fine, but Lan Ling's eyes were filled with shock. She had never expected Autumn Moon to be so powerful. Autumn Moon was only a 9th-level heavenly god. Not only had she awakened the origin source divine power, but she could also block her attack. This aroused her competitiveness even more. "Again!" Lan Ling shouted. She circulated her divine power to the extreme and performed her ultimate move, the divine sword art. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Terrifying sword shadows burst out one after another, slashing toward Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon let out a long roar. 9 colored lights spread out from her body and combined with her blade technique, turning into rays of blade light to counterattack. The intense battle between the two peerless beauties in the air immediately alarmed the people in the other courtyards. Chapter 3078. Many figures flew out from the courtyards. When they saw the battle between Autumn Moon and Lan Ling, they were dumbfounded. The battle between the two beauties was not only pleasing to the eye, but also terrifying. Nestle, such terrifying strength. Origin Divine Force Factor, both of them have awakened their Origin Divine Force Factor. Gosh, aren't they too powerful? Poor they. They're so beautiful. I know, it's a woman who seems to be the new member, Lu Ming. She entered Xingyue Ancient City and passed the gate of heaven. It can't be, she was only a level 2 heavenly god then. Now she's a level 9 heavenly god. How did she cultivate? What a monster. Without a doubt, Qiu Yu's cultivation shocked everyone. It was truly shocking. Some even suspected that Autumn Moon had cultivated some kind of cultivation technique to hide her cultivation. When she entered Xingyue Ancient City, she had hidden her cultivation. Above Star Peak, in a place closer to the peak of Star Peak, there were some courtyards where the prodigies of the Starry Sky Camp lived. However, the cultivation of these geniuses was even more terrifying. Many of them had reached the Divine King realm. They were the most terrifying group of geniuses in the Starry Camp. However, these people were also shocked. They flew out of their courtyards and watched from afar. What a beautiful woman! She's so powerful! These people were shocked when they saw it. They were a great threat to them since they had such strength below the Divine King realm. Clang, clang, clang. Autumn Moon and Lan Ling were still fighting. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 100 blows. Although Autumn Moon's cultivation was weaker, only at level 9 heavenly god, she had mastered many kinds of divine force, which made up for her lack of cultivation. However, Qiu Yu's understanding of divine skills was not as good as Lan Ling's. However, Qiu Yu had the 9 orifices Sacred Heart's 9-colored divine light, which would greatly increase Qiu Yu's attacking power. For a moment, the two of them were evenly matched. Autumn Moon was not very familiar with the control of divine power. As the battle progressed, Autumn Moon became more and more familiar with the control of divine power. He became more and more adept at using it, and his strength also became stronger. In the end, Mid-Autumn Moon slowly gained the upper hand. How could this be? At this moment, Lan Ling was extremely shocked. Autumn Moon's strength was beyond her expectations. Not only could she fight with her, but she also had the upper hand. What hurt her the most was that Qiu Autumn Moon's cultivation base was only at the 9th level of the celestial god realm. Lan Ling had always been invincible among those at the same level as her. There were very few who could fight with her at the same level, not to mention those whose cultivation was lower than her. Her self-confidence had suffered a severe blow. God-killing light. Suddenly, Autumn Moon muttered and unleashed the light of destruction. Autumn Moon infused the light of destruction onto her curved blade and slashed out. Clang. The slash landed on Lan Ling's battle sword, causing it to tremble violently. The sword chi on it was dispersed. Lan Ling's delicate body trembled, and she was sent flying. She only managed to stop after flying for 10,000 meters. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. You've lost. Autumn Moon did not continue to pursue. She stood in the air and spoke in a clear voice. Lan Ling's face was extremely ugly. She bit her lips and tears welled up in her eyes. She had previously doubted that Autumn Moon was qualified to be by Lu Ming's side. Reality had proven that Autumn Moon was more qualified than her. I've lost, but I'll definitely defeat you in the future, Lan Ling said before turning around to leave. She was too ashamed to stay any longer. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief when Lan Ling left. If Lan Ling insisted on staying in his courtyard, he would have a headache. Young master, it seems like there's another pretty lady who has her eyes on you. Autumn Moon came to Lu Ming's side and smiled. But, are you jealous? Lu Ming teased. Autumn Moon blushed and said, no way. Young master is so outstanding. There must be a lot of girls who like you. As long as Autumn Moon can be by young master's side, I'll be satisfied. Lu Ming felt warm in his heart. He held Autumn Moon's hand and walked into the courtyard. After that, it was another battle. After that, Lan Ling did not come again. Lu Ming was happy to be free. He went into seclusion to cultivate and comprehend the Overlord spear art. In the east of the Starry Camp, there was a place filled with divine energy. Many luxurious palaces were built in this place. This place was the headquarters of the Jin family in the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence. In one of the palaces, the head of the Jin family and a few other experts of the Jin family were discussing something. The atmosphere in the palaces was tense. The head of the Jin family was emitting a cold aura. I've only been in seclusion for a while, and such a big thing happened. Tell me, who killed Jin Xing? Who has the guts to kill the genius of the Jin family? The head of the Jin family said in a low voice. His voice seemed to contain a terrifying storm. Jin Xing, as one of the 4 heroes of the Jin family, had a bright future. But now he was killed in the Starry Camp. It would be strange if he was not angry. In front of the head of the Jin family, the proud Jin Yuan did not even dare to breathe loudly. Head of the Jin family, the one who killed Jin Xing is someone called Lu Ming. Jin Yuan answered honestly. Lu Ming? Which force is he from? The 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence, not the Lu family. The head of the Jin family asked. He's not from any family. He's from the Qintian Star Field. Jin Yuan said. How could someone from the Qintian Star Field kill Jin Xing? And why didn't you kill that kid to avenge Jin Xing's death? The head of the Jin family stared coldly at Jin Yuan. Jin Yuan trembled and broke out in cold sweat. He answered honestly, Head of the Jin family, I'm not his match. You're not his match? There's such a powerful genius in the Qintian Star Field? The head of the Jin family was slightly surprised. He's a monster. He's only a level 5 heavenly god, but his combat strength is ridiculously strong. Not only did he defeat me, but he also defeated the other geniuses of the Heavenly God Mansion and obtained a treasure. Jin Yuan immediately told the head of the Jin family about what had happened in the Starry Crescent ancient city. I can't believe such a thing happened. The head of the Jin family and the other experts of the Jin family were stunned when they heard the story. They were really shocked. Monster. He must be a monster with great luck. If we offend someone like him, we must get rid of him. The head of the Jin family said coldly. But he's staying in the Starry Camp. It's not easy to kill him. An elder of the Jin family frowned. Head of the family, elder, this Lu Ming is close to the Wu family. In the Starry Crescent ancient city, the young master of the winged men, Yi Xiang, offended Lu Ming. Lu Ming has been trying to kill Yi Xiang. During this period, he has been asking the Wu family to gather information about Yi Xiang. This might be a chance. Jin Yuan's eyes turned and suggested. The head of the Jin family's eyes lit up and said, You mean you want to use Yi Xiang to lure Lu Ming out? Chapter 3079. You want to use Yi Xiang to lure Lu Ming out? The Jin family's patriarch stared at Lu Ming. A? N W? 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 Nasi? That's right. If Lu Ming wants to kill Yi Xiang, he will definitely leave the interstellar barracks. At that time, we can arrange a few scapegoats and have a reason to kill him. Jin Yuan replied, his eyes flashing with cold killing intent. All right, let's do that. The Jin family's patriarch laughed. Patriarch, that Lu Ming has also killed a few of the Qin family's sky prides. For this matter, we can drag the Qin family into this. Jin Yuan said, I understand. I will go to the Winged Man clan now. You go and invite the experts of the Qin family to discuss this. In the end, the Jin family's patriarch ordered an elder of the Jin family. The elder of the Jin family received the order and rushed to the Qin family. As for the Jin family's patriarch, he rushed to the Winged Man clan. In fact, a storm had been brewing in the Qin family for the past 2 days. A few of the Qin family's sky prides had died in Lu Ming's hands. The higher-ups of the Qin family were furious and wanted to deal with Lu Ming. The arrival of the Jin family naturally hit it off. Immediately, The Qin family's patriarch rushed to the Winged Man clan to discuss how to deal with Lu Ming. In the main hall of the Winged Man clan, the experts of the three major clans gathered together to discuss how to deal with the junior. What's your plan? The Winged Man clan's patriarch stared at the Jin family's patriarch and asked. Let Yi Xiang leave the Winged Man clan and walk outside. It's best if he stays in a crowded place and lure Lu Ming to kill him. Once he kills someone, we will have 100 reasons to kill him. Even the interstellar barracks won't be able to protect him. The Jin family's patriarch said coldly. Bang! The Winged Person clan's clan head slammed the table heavily. He stared at the Jin clan's clan head with an unfriendly gaze and said, You mean to say that you want to sacrifice my son, Yi Xiang, and let Lu Ming kill him? Brother Yi, you've misunderstood. Of course not. Young Master Yi Xiang is only bait. You can arrange for experts to protect him and then arrange for a few unimportant people to be killed by Lu Ming. Wouldn't that be enough? The head of the Jin family laughed. That's more like it. That brat is bent on killing my son. He should be eliminated as soon as possible. The head of the Winged Man clan nodded. Immediately, the heads of the three aristocratic families began to discuss the specifics. Lu Ming was completely unaware of all of this. In the following 10-odd days, Lu Ming wholeheartedly comprehended the Overlord Spear art and finally made great progress. The first stage of the Overlord Spear art had been successfully cultivated by him. Next, he just needed to slowly nurture it. Then Lu Ming took out the God of War strike and studied it carefully. At this moment, Lu Ming's expression changed. He ended his comprehension and a sound transmission jade talisman appeared in his hand. Just now, he felt that someone had sent him a message, so he ended his cultivation. There's news about Yi Xiang. Lu Ming scanned the sound transmission jade talisman with his spiritual sense and his eyes lit up. The one who sent him the message was Wu Ming. Previously, he had asked Wu Ming and the others to inquire about Yi Xiang's whereabouts. Now, he finally got the news. Lu Ming left the courtyard. As expected, he saw Wu Ming, Wu Yu, and Wu Zixiong outside the door. Brothers Wu, where is Yi Xiang? Has he returned to the Starry Sky camp? Lu Ming asked. No. Wu Ming shook his head and said, We found out that Yi Xiang had been holed up in the Winged Person clan for some time. However, he left the Winged Person clan 7 or 8 days ago and has been active in the Soaring Cloud region. The Soaring Cloud region. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. After arriving at the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Manor, Lu Ming naturally did some research on the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Manor. The entire planet was the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Manor. It was extremely vast. However, it was also divided into different regions. For example, the core region of the 9 Extinction Heavenly King Manor and the various aristocratic families' headquarters. Other than that, there were some regions where ordinary people gathered or where commercial areas were for consumption. The Soaring Cloud region was a commercial area. There were restaurants, markets, auction houses, brothels, and everything that one could think of. It was extremely prosperous. It was also the region with the most people. Brother Lu, that Yi Xiang had been holed up in the Winged Person clan and did not dare to come out. Then, he suddenly appeared in the Soaring Cloud region and swaggered in and out of various restaurants and brothels. I'm afraid that there's a trap here. We can't act rashly, Wu Zixiong said with a frown. Lu Ming nodded. He had also thought of this point. He wanted to kill Yi Xiang. However, Lu Ming had quite a number of enemies. Perhaps the other party wanted to kill him too. However, it would be difficult for the other party to make a move in the Starry Sky camp. Perhaps the other party wanted to lure him out before killing him. Lu Ming's mind was spinning rapidly as he thought of a countermeasure. He definitely had to kill Yi Xiang. If he did not kill him, he would not be able to calm down. However, it would depend on how he killed him. How about this? Let's wait a little longer and observe the situation first, Lu Ming said. He was not an impulsive person. Even if he knew that there might be a trap, he would still kill his way in. That's for the best. If there's anything, we'll inform you immediately, Wu Ming said. Thank you very much. Lu Ming cupped his fists and thanked them. You don't have to stand on ceremony. Lu Ming, the family head of the Wu family already knows about your matter. He said that if you need any help, feel free to ask. The Wu family will definitely do our best to help. Wu Zixiong said. Wu family's patriarch? Lu Ming was slightly stunned. He did not expect that his matter would reach the ears of the Wu family's patriarch. Perhaps, Wu Zifeng had contributed to this. Everyone, please help me thank the Wu family's patriarch. If Lu Ming needs help, I won't be courteous. Lu Ming smiled. Subsequently, Wu Ming and the rest bade farewell. After Wu Ming and the rest left, Lu Ming was about to return to his room. From the direction of the Star Peak, a figure stepped on the air and flew over. If it wasn't Lan Ling, who else could it be? Why are you here again? Didn't I teach you a lesson last time? Lu Ming glanced at Lan Ling and said coldly. Lan Ling was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. She had never been so unwelcome before. Lu Ming, do you think I want to come? It's my father who wants to see you. Lan Ling gritted her teeth and said, Senior Blue Merchant, could it be? Lu Ming's eyes suddenly lit up. Could it be that Blue Merchant had found a clue from the Dark Knight Devil's storage ring? I've already sent the message. It's up to you whether you want to come or not. After Lan Ling finished speaking, she turned around and left like a proud swan. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He could not be bothered with Lan Ling and followed after her. Soon, Lu Ming came to the Blue Merchant's courtyard for the second time. Senior, did you ask me to come here because you have a clue about the 9 extinction divine crystal? As soon as he saw Blue Merchant, Lu Ming couldn't wait to ask. Yes, I have a clue. Lan Shang smiled faintly and said, Dark Knight Devil King, sealing a projection into an ordinary divine artifact. That's a good method. After saying that, a simple and unadorned axe appeared in his hand. This axe was only an ordinary high-grade divine artifact. Sealed in this axe? Lu Ming was surprised. P.S. Readers, I'm the shepherd boy Tingzhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, 0 ads, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3080. Looking at the axe in Blue Merchant's hand, Lu Ming was surprised. W? Weina, this was indeed an axe from the Eventide Demon King's storage ring. Lu Ming had checked it a few times before, but he did not find anything. Look, Blue Merchant said. Then, the axe floated in the air. Blue Merchant's fingers kept drawing runes and they flew into the axe. Buzz. The axe vibrated slightly, and runes appeared on its surface. The runes on the axe intertwined and radiated light. The light formed a projection in the air. That's the Dark Knight Demon King and the Dark Ice Tribe. Lu Ming saw the figure of the Eventide Demon on the projection at one glance. There were a few figures beside the Dark Knight Demon King. They were from the Dark Ice Tribe. Lu Ming had seen the Dark Ice Tribe before. Hence, he could recognize them at a glance. However, both the Dark Knight Demon King and the Dark Ice race were very respectful to these figures. Those figures were covered in black robes and their faces could not be seen clearly. This time, we will arrange it well. We will hide the 9 Jews' sacred crystal with the Dark Ice Tribe. One of the black-robed figures said. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. They were indeed discussing how to steal the 9 Jews' sacred crystal. The members of the Dark Ice race and the Dark Knight Devil bowed to him. The few of them discussed for a while, and it was all about the specific matters of stealing the 9 extinction divine crystal. Unfortunately, from beginning to end, they didn't know the identities of the few black-robed people. The 9 Jews' sacred crystal is with the Dark Ice Tribe. Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was delighted. Although he did not know who was in cahoots with the Dark Ice Tribe, he had finally found the whereabouts of the 9 Jews' sacred crystal. As long as he destroyed the Dark Ice Tribe and took back the 9 Jews' sacred crystal, the Qin Tian territory would be safe. Lu Ming, what are you going to do? Blue Merchant asked. What am I going to do? Of course, I will take this projection and make it public. Lu Ming said. That's easy. Maybe we can plan to lure out the forces that are in cahoots with the Dark Ice Tribe and kill them all. Blue Merchant said with a smile. Lure out the mastermind? I want to do that too. But what can we do? Lu Ming asked. Well, you'll have to figure it out yourself. I'm just suggesting. Lan Shang chuckled. He was simply like an old fox. Lu Ming was speechless. However, his eyes lit up the next moment as he thought of a solution. When Lu Ming first came to the Nine-Ju Heavenly King Mansion, he was intercepted by a group of people. Now that he thought about it, the other party must have guessed that there was evidence in the storage ring of the Dark Knight Demon King. However, they probably did not know what the evidences Ju's Ju. Perhaps they didn't know that the evidence left by the Night Devil only exposed the Dark Ice race, but not the person behind it. The Dark Knight Demon King was in a hurry to kill Lu Ming and take away the evidence. Based on that, he could use the evidence to lure the Dark Knight Demon King out or blackmail the Dark Knight Demon King into admitting it himself. Moreover, Lu Ming suspected that the mastermind might be the Jin family or the Qin family. Since Lu Ming came to the Starry Camp, he was targeted by the two families. They wanted to kill him. Maybe they wanted to kill him and take away the Dark Knight Demon King's Ju's Ju. Then, maybe I can make use of Yi Xiang's incident. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Yi Xiang suddenly swaggered outside. Lu Ming suspected that he might have joined forces with the Jin family and the Qin family to lure him out so that they could kill him. Then, could he beat them at their own game and make a big deal out of it? Then, he could blackmail them and make them give themselves away. However, if he wanted to carry out this plan, he must have a strong backing. Otherwise, he would be killed before the plan could be carried out. At the thought of this, Lu Ming told Lan Shang about Yi Xiang and his plan. Not bad, not bad. This is a good plan. After hearing that, Lan Shang nodded continuously. He looked at Lu Ming with increasing satisfaction. To be able to come up with such a plan in such a short period of time was not something an ordinary person could do. If he wanted to reverse Jin Yu's case, he not only needed strength, he also needed brains. Without brains, he would not be able to go far. Alright, let's carry out this plan. Your safety will be in the hands of your uncle Lan Shu. Blue Merchant smiled confidently. However, if you want to make a big deal out of this, I alone won't be enough. Don't you have a good relationship with the Wu family? You can borrow their strength. Then, Lan Shang reminded him again. All right. Lu Ming nodded his head and discussed the details of the plan with Blue Merchant. Then they left the place. After that, Lu Ming found Wu Ming and Wu Yu and told them about his plan. All right, leave this to us. We'll send a message to young Master Zifeng. Wu Ming said. Immediately, Wu Ming sent a message to Wu Zifeng. Soon, Wu Ming received a reply. Brother Lu, don't worry. The family head has said that he'll help you. If necessary, the family head will do it himself. Wu Ming said. Thank you. Lu Ming was overjoyed. With the help of the Wu family, this plan could be carried out smoothly. Yi Xiang, I'll take your life. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Soaring Cloud District was the largest commercial district in the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence. The streets were crisscrossed and there were shops everywhere. A large number of people gathered here and it was extremely prosperous. The Inn in the Clouds was the largest restaurant in the Soaring Cloud District. It was also a place of romance. The Inn in the Clouds, as its name suggested, floated in the clouds all year round and was very large. Those who drank here would be accompanied by young and beautiful ladies. Moreover, the wine and delicacies were also top-notch. Naturally, it attracted a large number of customers. The Inn in the Clouds had 3 floors and was very large. There were luxurious tables and chairs placed everywhere and almost all of them were filled with customers. On one of the tables, Yi Xiang was drinking with a few friends. Beside them, there was a beautiful lady accompanying them. Yi Xiang hugged a young lady and his evil claws wandered around her body, causing the lady to giggle. Ha! Come, beauty, have a drink with me. Yi Xiang laughed loudly and raised his wine cup, asking the lady to drink. Since it's young master Yi Xiang's wine, I won't stand on ceremony. The lady took the wine cup and drank it in one gulp. Good alcohol tolerance. Yi Xiang clapped his hands and praised without restraint. However, from time to time, there would be a sharp glint in the depths of his eyes as he glanced around. Lu Ming, I hope you can appear. Once you appear, it'll be your death. Yi Xiang roared in his heart and his killing intent was boundless. Previously, he was afraid of Lu Ming and hid in the Winged Man clan. He did not even dare to return to the Starry Camp. This matter had become a joke to him. He hated Lu Ming to the bone. P.S. Readers, I'm the shepherd boy Tingzhu. I recommend a free app that supports downloading, listening to books, zero advertisements, and multiple reading modes. Chapter 3081. This time, Yi Xiang swaggered into the soaring cloud area to lure Lu Ming out. Once Lu Ming came out, it would be his death. However, it had been a few days and Lu Ming had yet to appear. This made him anxious. This guy keeps saying that he wants to kill me, but he doesn't dare to appear. He's also a good-for-nothing. Humph, but this good-for-nothing woman is really beautiful. If there's a chance, I must get my hands on that woman and have fun with her. Yi Xiang had vicious thoughts in his mind. At the thought of Autumn Moon's peerless beauty and perfect expression, there was a raging flame in his eyes. Compared to Autumn Moon, he suddenly felt that the beauty in his arms was simply ordinary. There was no comparison at all. They were heaven and earth. Thud, thud, thud. At this moment, unhurried footsteps could be heard from the staircase. It spread throughout the entire third floor. Many people looked at the staircase curiously. This was the 9 Extremes Heavenly King residence. Even the weakest person was at the virtual god realm. Those who had reached this realm would not have any footsteps. But now, someone was walking with such well-proportioned footsteps. Obviously, it was done on purpose and naturally attracted the attention of others. Soon, a young man appeared from the staircase and walked slowly to the third floor. Ming. Seeing this young man, Yi Xiang's eyes lit up and he slowly uttered 2 words. That's right. The young man who walked up from the staircase was Lu Ming. Lu Ming walked up to the third floor step by step. His gaze was fixed on Yi Xiang. He then stepped forward and a cold, murderous intent filled the air and suppressed Yi Xiang. Yi Xiang, you're finally not hiding in the Winged Man family anymore. Very good. Today will be the day you die. Lu Ming said coldly. His voice was icy cold. In the restaurant, many people's hearts were shaken, and a commotion broke out. Who is this guy? He wants to kill Yi Xiang? Yi Xiang is the young master of the Winged Man family. This guy is really audacious. He doesn't want to live anymore. Moreover, Yi Xiang's cultivation is extremely shocking. Judging from this guy's aura, his cultivation is not high. He wants to kill Yi Xiang. He's overestimating himself. Just watch, there's going to be a good show. Everyone in the restaurant was discussing animatedly, as if they wanted to watch a good show. How dare you? Brat, what did you say? Before Yi Xiang could open his mouth, a young man in his 30s suddenly slammed the table and stood up. A berserk aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Half-step Divine King Realm. This young man, who seemed to be in his 30s, was a half-step Divine King. This brat wants to kill young master Yi Xiang. Looks like he's tired of living. Another young man at the side said coldly. He looked to be in his 30s. However, these young men were too old to join the Starry Barracks, thus they were unaware of Lu Ming's achievements. Otherwise, they would not dare to speak in such a manner. Lu Ming, you want to kill me? Yi Xiang said indifferently. He continued to drink his wine with a calm expression. He was waiting for Lu Ming to come, so naturally, he wasn't flustered at all. Nonsense. How dare you touch my Lu Ming's woman? Your ending is already decided. Lu Ming said coldly. Then, he took a step forward, his killing intent becoming even more intense. Swoosh. Suddenly, a young man appeared in front of Lu Ming. His berserk aura pressed down on Lu Ming. I'm talking to you. Can't you hear me? The young man said ferociously. Get lost if you don't want to die. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Brat, what did you say? You're courting death. The young man shouted coldly. He bent his fingers into a claw and clawed at Lu Ming's head. The moment he clawed, the young man's claw turned golden. The claw pierced through the air, producing a terrifying whistling sound. Jin family. Looks like you're trying to lure me out. Lu Ming sneered in his heart and threw out a punch. Lu Ming's fist let out a dragon's roar. Then, a 9-clawed dragon pounced out and clashed with the young man's claw. In the next moment, the young man let out a miserable shriek. Because his claw had exploded. The 9-clawed dragon did not stop there. It pounced on the young man and tore his body apart with its claw. The young man from Jin family had fallen. There was a brief silence in the restaurant. Many people revealed shocked expressions. They did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful. He killed a half-step divine king with just a wave of his hand. Lu Ming, how dare you kill someone? You're courting death. Go and kill him together. Yi Xiang shouted angrily. Of course, he was pretending to be angry. He was happy that Lu Ming had killed someone. The people around him were originally sent to their deaths. Lu Ming had killed someone. They had 100 reasons to kill Lu Ming. The Starry Sky Battalion had nothing to say. Kill! Kill this brat! Beside Yi Xiang, another 3 young men roared. Violent auras exploded as they charged towards Lu Ming. The 3 of them did not know about Yi Xiang's plan. When they saw that Lu Ming dared to kill one of their men, they were enraged and charged towards Lu Ming. You're courting death, Lu Ming said indifferently. A long spear appeared in his hand. The long spear trembled and rays of spear light burst out. The 3 rays of spear light easily destroyed their attacks and pierced through their foreheads. The 3 young experts were killed instantly. Yi Xiang, it's your turn now. Lu Ming stared coldly at Yi Xiang. His long spear trembled and another ray of spear light pierced towards Yi Xiang. At this moment, there was only one young man left beside Yi Xiang. This young man looked to be in his 30s. He had a pair of wings on his back. Like Yi Xiang, he was also a lightning-winged man. At this moment, the young man moved. In a flash, he appeared in front of Yi Xiang. One of his wings swept out like a blade. Boom! The wings slashed onto Lu Ming's spear light and destroyed Lu Ming's spear light. Boom! Then, a violent aura emitted from the young man's body. The restaurant was immediately shrouded by a terrifying pressure. It's a divine king. Second divine king realm. Some people exclaimed. This young man was at the second divine king realm. Indeed, there are experts around him. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He knew that it wouldn't be easy to kill Yi Xiang this time. Indeed, there were experts around him. Lu Ming, how dare you kill people in broad daylight? This time, even the Starry Sky Camp can't protect you. Yi Xiang finally stood up and shouted at Lu Ming while pointing at him. That's right. You killed people of the Jin family for no reason. You deserve to die. At this moment, a voice came from the second floor. The restaurant in the clouds had 5 floors. The voice came from the 4th floor. Before he finished speaking, a figure flashed and a group of people appeared beside Yi Xiang. The leader wore a golden robe and had a handsome and cold face. He was one of the 4 heroes of the Jin family, Jin Yuan. There were a few middle-aged men beside Jin Yuan. Their auras were as strong as mountains. Chapter 3082. Jin Yuan appeared beside Yi Xiang with a few burly men and stared coldly at Lu Ming. You've finally shown up? Lu Ming said in a low voice, the corners of his lips curling into a cold smile. Seeing Jin Yuan, Lu Ming knew that he had guessed correctly. The other party had set this up on purpose to bait him. Looks like you've been waiting for me here. Lu Ming said indifferently. Lu Ming, you killed the Jin clan's men for no reason and even wanted to kill Yi Xiang. How audacious! What do you think the 9 Extinction Heavenly King residence is? Why don't you surrender now? Are you waiting for us to make a move? Jin Yuan shouted coldly with a cold smile. Those men were from the Jin clan, but their talents were average. They were pushed out by the Jin clan to let Lu Ming kill them. Lu Ming killed them first, so no one would say anything if they killed Lu Ming, even if Lu Ming was from the Starry Camp. As expected, Lu Ming had fallen into their trap. Everything was going according to their plan. Jin Yuan, since you're shouting so loudly, then come and take me. Let's see if a loser like you can take me down. Lu Ming looked at Jin Yuan indifferently with a mocking expression. As soon as these words were spoken, it caused the others in the restaurant to be surprised. What does Lu Ming mean? Did he defeat Jin Yuan before? It can't be. Jin Yuan is known as one of the 4 heroes of the Jin clan. He awakened his origin source divine power factor long ago. Can Lu Ming defeat Jin Yuan? It's possible. Otherwise, why would Lu Ming say that? The people in the restaurant discussed animatedly as they looked at Jin Yuan and Lu Ming. Jin Yuan's face was extremely gloomy and his killing intent was extremely strong. Lu Ming, now is not the time to fight with you alone. You killed the Jin clan's men. It's time for you to pay with your life. Men, take him down. Jin Yuan waved his hand. Boom. Beside Gold Ingot, a burly man stepped out, and a powerful aura erupted from his body. He was a first King God Realm warrior. His aura was as thick as a mountain. His skin glowed with a golden light as if he was made of gold. Boom. The Jin clan's godly king sent a palm strike towards Lu Ming. The void trembled violently as a violent energy surged towards Lu Ming like a tidal wave. As soon as he made his move, Lu Ming sensed that although this godly monarch of the Jin family had a similar cultivation base as the Dark Knight Demon King, his combat strength was definitely above the Dark Knight Demon King's. In an instant, all of Lu Ming's divine power erupted from his body, and he activated the battle character secret art to quadruple his combat strength. Moon slaying. A low shout came from Lu Ming's mouth. Then, a crescent-shaped spear light violently chopped out. Clang. The crescent-shaped spear light collided with the Jin clan's godly king's palm, creating a dull explosion. At the point of impact, the energy swept out in all directions like a tidal wave. The entire restaurant trembled. However, in the next moment, the walls and floor of the restaurant glowed with colorful lights. Dense runes appeared, blocking the energy waves that spread out in all directions. As the largest restaurant in the soaring cloud district, the restaurant in the clouds had an extraordinary background. It was supported by a powerful force, and the entire restaurant was a treasure. It was covered with great arrays, so it wasn't afraid of a great battle. However, the expensive tables and chairs next to the 2 of them were not protected by great arrays. They were crushed by the energy waves of the 2 of them. The other people in the restaurant were forced to retreat. However, there were also experts among them. There were quite a few godly kings. They circulated their divine power and blocked the aftershock of Lu Ming's attack. Buzz. The spear in Lu Ming's hand vibrated continuously. A powerful energy surged out, causing Lu Ming's body to float backwards. On the other hand, Godly King's body only swayed slightly before he stabilized himself. Without transforming into his ancient god body, Lu Ming was slightly at a disadvantage in a head-on battle. However, this also shocked the others. Now, many people had seen through Lu Ming's cultivation. Lu Ming was only a 6th-layer heavenly god. It was unbelievable that a 6th-layer heavenly god could fight a 1st-layer godly king. Die. After pushing Lu Ming back, the Jin clan's godly king immediately launched a fierce attack. His golden palm broke through the air, attacking Lu Ming like a storm. However, Lu Ming didn't want to face him head-on. He used the 9 Heavens Kunpeng art. A 9 Heavens Kunpeng appeared on his body. With a flash, Lu Ming charged towards Yixiang. This time, he had to kill Yixiang. Lu Ming's speed was astonishing. He charged towards Yixiang like a bolt of lightning. Before he arrived, a spear light had already shot towards Yixiang. Save me! Yixiang was shocked. Beside Yixiang, the Winged Men clan's godly king was already prepared. He flapped his lightning wings and slashed towards Lu Ming's spear light like a sharp blade. He shattered Lu Ming's spear light. However, 9 ice chains immediately shot towards Yixiang like dancing snakes. You're courting death! The Winged Men clan's godly king roared furiously. He unleashed a powerful aura and his body was covered in lightning. Boom! 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 Bolts of lightning as thick as an arm shot out from his body and bombarded the ice chains. A series of explosions could be heard as the 9 ice chains exploded one after another. In an instant, the 9 ice chains had all exploded and turned into streams of cold air that dissipated into the air. The Winged Men clan's godly king was a 2nd-layer godly king expert. A 2nd-layer godly king was extremely powerful. He was much stronger than a 1st-layer godly king. As the saying went, those with a higher rank could crush a person to death. This sentence was also suitable to describe the godly king realm. In the godly king realm, if one's cultivation base was one layer higher, he would have an absolute advantage. Even a genius with divine grade divine power would find it difficult to fight against someone with a higher rank. Only some monstrous geniuses could do so. Therefore, no matter how tough the ice chains were, they would be shattered by his attack. Die. Then, the Winged Men clan's godly king shouted coldly. He pressed his palm down and lightning bolts shot towards Lu Ming. However, just as the Winged Men clan's godly king made his move, Lu Ming's body flashed and he dashed towards the other side. This time, he wasn't going to attack Yi Xiong, but Jin Yuan. Yes, this time, Lu Ming was going to attack Jin Yuan. In reality, the reason he attacked Yi Xiong just now was just a facade. His real target was Jin Yuan. In the process of dashing out, Lu Ming's body swelled rapidly. Lu Ming was transforming into his ancient god body. Strangely, the height of the third floor of the restaurant was only a dozen meters. However, as Lu Ming's body grew rapidly, the height of the restaurant also increased rapidly. In the end, it reached a height of a few hundred meters. Its length and width also increased by a few times. Conflicts often broke out in the restaurant above the clouds. There were even fights between people of different races and different sizes. Therefore, the entire restaurant above the clouds was a treasure. Not only was it covered with formations, but it could also change its size at will. Buzz. After transforming into his ancient god body, Lu Ming's fighting strength skyrocketed. He swept his long spear towards Jin Yuan. Before the long spear reached him, the terrifying energy wave had already caused Jin Yuan's expression to change drastically. Chapter 3083. Void-Shattering Hand. The Jin family god king who had fought with Lu Ming shouted. His hand glowed as he used the Void-Shattering Hand to attack Lu Ming. Their attacks collided once again. This time, the shockwaves were even more terrifying as they swept out in all directions. Then, a figure retreated violently, vomiting blood. This time, it was the Jin family god king who retreated. The Jin family god king was in the first layer of the king god realm. Although he was slightly stronger than the Dark Knight Devil King, it was not by much. Before Lu Ming transformed into his ancient god body, he was at a disadvantage. Once he transformed into his ancient god body, his fighting strength completely surpassed his opponent. Upon seeing this sight, the crowd widened their eyes in shock. The strength Lu Ming had displayed before was already terrifying. But now, Lu Ming's strength could only be described as shocking. He had injured a god king in one move. After injuring his opponent, Lu Ming continued to step forward. His violent aura swept towards Jin Yuan like a storm. Jin Yuan's face changed drastically, becoming extremely ugly. Lu Ming's ability had improved tremendously compared to when he was in Xingyue Ancient City. This simply made him envious and jealous. Kill him for me. Let's attack together. Jin Yuan shouted. Kill. The big men by Jin Yuan's side all roared and attacked at the same time, all of them releasing shocking auras. These men were all in the first layer of the King God realm. Their bodies glowed with golden light as they attacked Lu Ming together. Ice chains. Lu Ming's mind stirred, and the 9 ice chains condensed once again. They danced in front of him, blocking the attacks of the few burly men from the Jin family. The first layer of the King God realm could not break the ice chains. After using the ice chains to block their attacks, Lu Ming stared at one of them and attacked ferociously. Moon slashing. Lu Ming shouted, almost using his full strength. His spear chopped down towards one of the big men. Lu Ming was now using all of his strength to execute the moon beheading strike. How astonishing was its power! It instantly pierced through the big man's defense and split his body in half. A god king had fallen. This was considered Lu Ming's first time relying on his own strength to kill a divine king powerhouse. Back then, although Lu Ming had killed the Night Devil King, it was because of Lu Ming's sneak attack. Furthermore, the Night Devil King was heavily injured and was killed by Lu Ming. Now, Lu Ming was completely relying on his own strength to kill his opponent. How could this be? This scene caused Jin Yuan and the others to be horrified. Lu Ming let out a long roar. His imposing manner was like a madman. His long spear vibrated madly as it continuously slashed out. In an instant, Lu Ming used the moon slashing 3 times. 3 crescent-shaped spear lights slashed towards the 3 big men. Although the 3 big men were prepared and did their best to defend, they were still heavily injured. They were sent flying and coughing up blood. For someone like Jin Yuan, his battle strength was enough to fight against a first-layer God King. He could even gain the upper hand. When Lu Ming was in the 5th-layer God realm, he could already crush Jin Yuan. He could even defeat Chu Baxing and the others who were even stronger. Now that Lu Ming had broken through to the 6th-layer God realm, his battle strength was even stronger than when he was in Xingyue Ancient City. It was naturally easy for him to deal with an ordinary 1st-layer God King. Several First Sky of King God Realm guards were killed or severely wounded. Jin Yuan was so scared that he shuddered and retreated hastily. Jin Yuan, die. Lu Ming said coldly. He took a step forward and pressed his long spear down with the momentum of Mount Tai. Jin Yuan was shocked. Just as he was about to use all of his strength to resist, a figure suddenly rushed over from the other side. He stood in front of Jin Yuan, his body emitting a dazzling golden light. The person threw out a palm and hit the long spear. Lu Ming felt a powerful force coming from the long spear. His body shook violently and he couldn't help but retreat. 2nd-layer God King. Lu Ming squinted his eyes. The person who had attacked him was also a big man. Without a doubt, he was also an expert from the Jin family. The Jin family also had a 2nd-layer God King in the restaurant. 2nd-layer God King. Ha! Kill that kid. Jin Yuan screamed hysterically. Just now, he was so frightened by Lu Ming that he almost wet his pants. Young Master Jin Yuan, don't worry. Today, he will die for sure. The expert from the Jin family said coldly. He was like a golden man, extremely dazzling. A 2nd-layer God King was much stronger than a 1st-layer God King. Although Lu Ming could kill a 1st-layer God King, he was definitely not a match for a 2nd-layer God King. A 2nd-layer God King against a 1st-layer God King would definitely be killed instantly. There was no suspense. Bang! The expert from the Jin family, who was in the 2nd heaven of the Divine King realm, took a step forward and dashed toward Lu Ming. He threw out a huge palm print toward Lu Ming, causing the void to tremble violently. It was the same void-shattering hand. However, a 2nd-layer God King was much stronger than a 1st-layer God King. However, Lu Ming didn't dodge. His body flashed, dashing toward his opponent. He's crazy. A thought flashed across many people's minds. They thought that Lu Ming was crazy. Lu Ming's fighting capacity was obviously not a match for a 2nd-layer God King. However, he dared to rush toward his opponent. Wasn't he seeking death? You're courting death. Jin Yuan's eyes flashed ferociously. Die. The 2nd-layer God King of the Jin family shouted and his palm strike became stronger. Qiu. At this moment, Lu Ming shouted. Then Qiu, who had turned into a bracelet on Lu Ming's wrist, moved. Swoosh. Qiu rushed out and turned into a ball. A tentacle extended from its round body and turned into a saber, slashing out. The saber slashed toward the Jin family expert's palm print. The Jin family expert's palm print couldn't withstand a single blow. It was cut in half like a piece of tofu. This scene greatly shocked the Jin family's experts. They were somewhat dumbfounded. His full-powered palm print was extremely powerful. However, it was easily broken by a metal ball. He was stunned and his fate was sealed. Qiu dashed toward the Jin family expert like a bolt of lightning. Its saber continued to slash down. The Jin family expert roared furiously. He had just set up a layer of defense when Qiu's saber slashed through it. Swoosh. The Jin family expert's defense was like a piece of paper. His entire body was cut in half and he died on the spot. Qiu's strength was terrifying. Even in the King God realm, it could kill opponents with a higher level. Now that Qiuqiu had broken through to the second layer God King, it was easy for it to kill someone at the same level. This, Jin Yuan was dumbfounded. His brain turned into paste. He was completely dumbfounded. He had never thought that a second layer God King of the Jin family would be killed just like that. In the next moment, he screamed crazily in his mind. He wanted to retreat and run away. However, how could Lu Ming let him do as he wished? Boom. A huge spear light pressed down on Jin Yuan. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.